Hello there, everyone. If you're watching this video, then you are part of the TTOR army, an army that is building itself up one subscriber at a time. Now, as you can see from the title and thumbnail of today's video, today we're going to be responding to some of the atheists and evolutionists who commented on my recent Paulogia video, because the comments of these atheists and evolutionists actually prove that atheists and evolutionists have no idea how abiogenesis works, how evolution works, and the problems that there are with the two. So, the video in question is this video, which you can see here on screen, called Paulogia's Stipulations for Debating Kent Hovind are Self-Contradicting and Censorious. And I uploaded the same video to my BitChute channel, my YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, and my Joshu TV channel. So if you want to watch this video on one of those other channels, you're more than welcome to. I would recommend watching it on Joshu TV personally, because that's my primary site right now. And, well, I guess you can just make up your own mind about where you want to watch this video. Now, I have to go into the video comments section in my Creator Studio because for some reason, not every single comment I want to read from shows up on the public page of my channel, even though I want them all to. I have no idea what's going on with that. So we're going to go to here. Now, the first person we'll be responding to is called Streepy Gordrake, and the other person is called Dr. Satan. Streepy says, Paulogia. Okay, let's say abiogenesis didn't happen and that it was a creator. Now let's discuss evolution. You. So dishonest. How dare he focus on only the subject of the debate and grant us our claim? How is Kant supposed to debunk evolution if he can't sidetrack to an unrelated subject? And I respond to Strepe by pointing out, the point of Paulogia granting a designer is so that he can avoid talking about the fantasy of abiogenesis, which is at the very heart of the atheistic evolution paradigm of history that Paulogia believes in. He would rather grant a designer than try to defend the scientific impossibility of life coming from non-life or nothing without any intelligent intervention whatsoever. And then Streppy said a bunch of things in a big long comment that I have to respond to in parts because of the points that he made and how obviously wrong they are. So Streppy said in response, abiogenesis is only related to evolution by the fact that it would precede it. If it was at the heart of the theory of evolution, it would be impossible for Paulogia to grant your premise. If you insist on claiming that they are indistinguishable from one another, it would be the same as saying that you cannot drive a car without knowing how every part of it works. So, Strepe claims that abiogenesis is only related to evolution by the fact that abiogenesis would precede evolution. Well, that actually is not true at all, Strepe, and I can prove it by going back to the Abiogenesis Wikipedia article, and I'm going to read the entire first paragraph. In biology, abiogenesis, or the origin of life, is the natural process by which life has arisen from non-living material, such as simple organic compounds. While the details of this process are still unknown, the prevailing scientific hypothesis is that the transition from non-living to living entities was not a single event, but an evolutionary process of increasing complexity that involved molecular self-replication, self-assembly, autocatalysis, and the emergence of cell membranes. Although the occurrence of abiogenesis is uncontroversial among scientists, its possible mechanisms are poorly understood. There are several principles and hypotheses for how abiogenesis could have occurred. So first of all, abiogenesis, according to Wikipedia, is a natural process. And a natural process means that there is no intelligent intervention whatsoever in its involvement. There's no intelligent intervention whatsoever in the occurrence of abiogenesis. How do we know this? Well, the word natural has a hyperlink, so I'm going to click on it, and it takes us to the Wikipedia article for the word nature. Nature, in the broadest sense, is the physical world or universe. Nature can refer to the phenomena of the physical world and also to life in general. The study of nature is a large, if not the only, part of science. Although humans are part of nature, human activity is often understood as a separate category from other natural phenomena. So, in other words, if something is a natural process, it's something that occurs in nature, in creation, without any intelligent intervention whatsoever, whether that intervention comes from a god, a human being, or any other life form. This is something that's supposed to occur without any intelligent intervention whatsoever. The second thing I want you to take note of about abiogenesis is, according to the first paragraph of its Wikipedia article, abiogenesis is not a single event that occurred, but it's an evolutionary process. In other words, abiogenesis, life coming from non-living material, is a process of evolution. It is the process of evolution that causes abiogenesis to occur. So when atheists tell me and tell you that abiogenesis is not part of evolution, they are flat out lying to you, or they're just incredibly ignorant and stupid and don't even know what their own worldview teaches. I'll let them decide which one they are. But you can see it plain as day here that abiogenesis is the end result of the evolutionary process occurring over time. Because if you scroll down further into the article, it says that the Earth is 4.54 billion years old, and that the earliest examples of abiogenesis occurred between 3.5 and 4.28 billion years ago. Furthermore, since abiogenesis is the result of the evolutionary process, what you have to know if you're an atheist or an evolutionist is that the evolutionary process takes so long to occur that nobody can see it happen in action. And if you can't see it happen in action, you not only can't record it as a historical event, but you also cannot set up an experiment to verify or falsify whether or not what you're seeing is a naturally occurring process or not. And because this is the case with abiogenesis, there's no agreement among scientists about how abiogenesis occurred. And that's the part that's hilarious. Abiogenesis is supposedly a naturally occurring process, but scientists can't even agree with each other about how it happened. So you don't even know how it happened, but you know that it occurred because you know that it occurred. And so one of these theories has to be true. If abiogenesis was a naturally occurring process, then scientists would know exactly how abiogenesis occurred. There wouldn't be all these wildly divergent theories about how it occurred, and there wouldn't be this near universal disagreement and saying that, well, yeah, we agree that abiogenesis happened, but we just don't understand the mechanisms of how it happened. It's not a naturally occurring process, ladies and gentlemen. If it was, we wouldn't have this giant disagreement about the mechanisms of it. And because it is the result of the evolutionary process, according to Wikipedia, abiogenesis can never be proven by science because it takes so long to occur that you can't actually set up an experiment that would verify that it's a naturally occurring process. It just can't happen. Any experiments where a scientist or group of scientists is able to get life to come from non-living material is by definition evidence of intelligent design and intelligent intervention, because if those scientists did not create the controlled environment and manipulate the variables of the environment and the experiment in order to make it work, the life coming from non-life would never have happened all on its own, out in creation, out in nature. And what's funny about this, too, is that if young Earth creationists like me were to say, well, we know that the flood of Noah happened because the Bible says so, but we don't have any idea what the mechanisms of that flood were because the Bible doesn't say so, well, then we have all these different theories and hypotheses about how the flood occurred. Evolutionists and atheists would no doubt mock us and make fun of us for disagreeing about the mechanisms of how the flood occurred. But yet, atheists and evolutionists can't even agree how abiogenesis happened, but they know with certainty that it happened, and if you question them on this, well, you're just a gigantic moron. But anyway, let's go back to the comments. Strepe points out, It is also pointless to argue at this point about abiogenesis, since it is still to be demonstrated if it is indeed possible. The very article you laugh at 427 even mentioned that there are several principles and hypotheses for how abiogenesis could have occurred. But that's kind of the point there, Streppy. If abiogenesis was a naturally occurring process, then we would know exactly what the mechanisms of it are. The fact that they can't even agree on what the mechanisms of it are, and they can't even agree about how abiogenesis could have occurred, is pretty strong evidence that abiogenesis is a religious belief and not a naturally occurring process. That's the whole point of bringing up that part of the article. Streppe then says, seems you were too busy with your cherry-picking ad hominem and straw man to notice that part. And here we go again. Every time I prove someone wrong on something, whether it be an older creationist, a theistic evolutionist, an atheist, an evolutionist, or a Democrat, or a lefty, or anyone, no matter who I disprove, every one of them accuses me of being, well, you're just cherry picking. You're just committing ad hominem attacks. You're just strawmanning the arguments. You're just making stuff up to make them look bad. That's the common accusation I've been getting for years. And since they do it to me so much, I've become used to it and it doesn't even register on my scale. So, nice try, Streppy, but your accusation of me cherry picking, committing ad hominem attacks, and strawmanning isn't going to work here. Evolution is also not directly linked to atheism. You can be atheist and deny evolution as you can be theist and accept it. It is just as likely for the two to align, as an atheist is usually someone who is more skeptical and unbound from ideas born in fantasy, thus more accepting of science as it pertains to the observable and demonstrable. If we're talking about creating life from non-life, your God is also guilty of that, as Adam is supposed to have been created from clay. So if that's the basis of your dismissal, you also have to dismiss your God. No, I don't, Streppy. The fact of the matter is that my worldview teaches that a creator God created the universe, the earth, the sea, and everything that is in those three things over the course of 6 ordinary days, roughly 6,000 years ago. I have zero problem with the idea of life coming from non-life or nothing if intelligent intervention is the cause of it. The problem I have with you guys is that your camp believes that you can have life come from non-life without any intelligent intervention whatsoever, even though you've never once observed that in all of history, much less your own life. That's the problem I have with you. So I'm not being a hypocrite when I say that life coming from non-life via intelligent intervention is acceptable, is good. See, this guy is so desperate to prove me wrong that he says all kinds of stupid stuff. And this is the common thing atheists and evolutionists do. Their lack of intelligence always comes out when you call them out on stuff and you hold their feet to the fire. If we're talking about creating something from nothing, then I've never heard of any atheist or scientist who make that claim, and if there is indeed one, then I would agree without that it's a claim that they have to provide evidence for. That said, you probably want to bring up the Big Bang, but I highly suggest you don't, since it is grossly misrepresented with the theistic communities, and nothing is definitely not part of the scientific conclusions on the subject. On the other hand, your God is guilty again. He spoke stuff into existence, which means there was nothing and then something. Once again, don't have a problem with that. My worldview teaches that something can come from nothing if an all-powerful creator God is behind it. You're the camp that teaches the opposite. You teach that something can come from nothing without any intelligent intervention whatsoever from any kind of God. That's what your camp believes. It's completely opposite of not only the Bible, but also observable reality. So that's why we have these disagreements. And then he finishes up by saying, incredible how much wrong you can get in 2 lines. Imagine how hard it was for me to abstain to point everything you got wrong in your video. If I thought you could honestly listen to what we say, I would have taken the time, but since you insist on claiming stupid stuff like abiogenesis is part of evolution, then I have no hope that you would listen to anything I say. But as I demonstrated earlier in this video by simply reading the first paragraph of the Wikipedia article on abiogenesis, abiogenesis is literally the result of the evolutionary process occurring. So according to Wikipedia itself, which is the fountain of knowledge for atheists and evolutionists like you, Abiogenesis is a direct result of the evolutionary process. And if abiogenesis is the direct result of the evolutionary process at work over time, then abiogenesis is part of evolution, which means that Paulogia saying we can't talk about abiogenesis in a debate about evolution, it shows you how incredibly dishonest he is, and it shows you that he doesn't want to have an open, honest debate about evolution, simply because he won't talk about abiogenesis, even though it's allegedly the result of evolution. I respond to Strepe by pointing out something different. You need to read what I say more carefully. I said that the atheistic evolution paradigm of history requires abiogenesis to have occurred, and since Paulogia is an atheist as well as an evolutionist, he has to believe that abiogenesis has occurred. If Paulogia were a theistic evolutionist, then abiogenesis wouldn't even need to be part of a debate between Paulogia and Kant. Atheistic evolution is an impossible position to defend, so Paulogia's strategy for the debate is to pretend to be a theistic evolutionist. And then Strepe gave a response to me that shows that he doesn't really think critically. But Dr. Satan stepped in at this point and said to me, abiogenesis was proven to be able to make organic molecules from inorganic materials back in the 50s with the Miller-Urey experiment. Sure, they didn't make all of the amino acids we find in life, but they did prove that one combination of conditions and elements can create one of the building blocks for life. It's safe to assume there are as yet unknown combinations of conditions materials that can create the others. It doesn't matter what you classify yourself as, abiogenesis still isn't evolution and has no place being discussed during a debate about evolution. Well, Dr. Satan, as I pointed out to Strepe earlier, the Abiogenesis Wikipedia article says that abiogenesis is the result of the evolutionary process. So for you to say that abiogenesis isn't evolution is factually wrong according to Wikipedia. Once again, you should do some of the most basic research and you'll find that you're wrong about a lot of the things you say. This is something that Brett Keane also points out in his videos responding to atheists and evolutionists. Now, Dr. Satan pointed out the Miller-Urey experiment, and I did a whole video about the Miller-Urey experiment a while ago titled The Miller-Urey Experiment Debunked. I'll have the link to this video in the description box below. But what I actually said in response to Dr. Satan was, the Miller-Urey experiment, if we are to believe what you say about it, is an example of intelligent minds intervening in a situation to make life come from non-living material. This is proof of intelligent design intervention and is stronger evidence for creationism than it is for evolution, deep time, or abiogenesis. Dr. Satan says to me, yet the experiment was based upon conditions of the early Earth. It only references known physics, so why would you assume it bears reference to a supernatural being? I don't expect you to just believe me. You can research the experiment for yourself and discover they made organic molecules out of inorganic molecules. Well, Dr. Satan already covered that in the previously mentioned video. But you say here that why would you assume it bears reference to a supernatural being? Well, as I've explained in past videos, if life can come from non-living material as the result of intelligent intervention in the micro scale, which is what all these experiments are at best, then it's not unreasonable to believe that at the cosmic scale, an intelligent mind, the ultimate mind, the creator God, created all of life from nothing by his word and power. If it works on the small scale, life coming from non-life through intelligent intervention / design, then at the cosmic scale, it's reasonable to believe the biblical worldview, because the biblical worldview teaches that at the cosmic scale, the ultimate intelligent mind created everything from nothing. That's how I assume it bears reference to a supernatural being. It's not the experiment itself that does it, it's the big picture of the experiment that does it. See, the problem with atheists and evolutionists like Strepe and Dr. Satan and Paulogia is that they refuse, or they just simply don't look at, or haven't looked at, the big picture. They want you to obsess over micro details, and they don't ever want you to look at the big picture of everything. Strepe pitched in to my discussion with Dr. Satan by saying, if Miller-Urey is an example of intelligent design, then me putting 2 dogs in heat in a room is an example of me giving birth to a dog. No, it's not Strepe. If two dogs in heat mate and give birth to a dog, that's not you giving birth to a dog. I don't believe that. I don't teach that. No young earth creationist does. Only you in your stupid mind would come up with something as stupid as that. Then Strepe says, if Miller-Urey is an example of intelligent design, then me putting water on the stove is a demonstration that it is impossible for water to boil without an intelligent mind. Well, yeah, if you don't turn the stove on and if you don't put the pot full of water on the stove, then that stove will never boil the water. Duh. Strepe's talking down to me like I'm some kind of 3-year-old who doesn't know how anything works, and here he's just showing what a condescending, arrogant person he is. He's also showing that he suffers from the Dunning-Kruger effect, which evolutionists have accused me of suffering from in the past, but Strepe is living proof of the Dunning-Kruger effect in action, because as you saw earlier, he gets just about everything wrong regarding abiogenesis, evolution, and the connection between the two. Strepe then concludes, if Miller-Urey is an example of intelligent design, then it still demonstrates that abiogenesis is possible. No, it doesn't, because abiogenesis, as we pointed out earlier, is a natural process. A natural process, by definition, has no intelligent intervention involved whatsoever in order for it to happen. But in the experiments that you're all referring to, intelligent minds had to actually create a controlled environment, and they had to manipulate the variables of the environment and the experiment in order for the experiment to work. They didn't just, slap up a camera and watch things in nature. No, they couldn't do that. It doesn't happen in nature. It doesn't happen in nature because, according to evolution, abiogenesis and evolution take so long to occur that nobody can actually observe it happen in action, which means that you can't set up an experiment where you merely observe it happen in action, record it, and then do the experiment over and over again and verify that it is indeed a natural process. You can't do that with abiogenesis. It is impossible. Anyway, as the time I've spent here shows, atheists and evolutionists, not just Paulogia, but also all of his sheeple followers, they have no idea how evolution actually works. And if they do know how evolution actually works, they don't want to have an honest discussion about it. I mean, the Wikipedia article for abiogenesis literally says that abiogenesis is the result of the evolutionary process in action, and yet Paulogia claims that abiogenesis is not part of evolution, and therefore we shouldn't even talk about it in a debate about evolution. And that's why I accused him of not being honest and not having integrity, and why I accused him of basically shutting down open and honest discussion about evolution. Because abiogenesis is literally at the heart of evolution. According to Wikipedia, abiogenesis itself is the direct result of evolution in action. But if we can't talk about abiogenesis in a debate about evolution, we can't have an open and honest discussion about evolution in any kind of debate. And so I stand by everything I said in my video response to Paulogia. And don't worry, atheists and evolutionists, I still plan on making a big long video, or multiple videos if I need to, responding to Paulogia's best evidences for evolution. That is still coming in the future. But I just had to make this video because it's too easy to expose the absurdity and the stupidity and the lack of intelligence that comes from the mouths and the lips of atheists and evolutionists and people who follow Paulogia. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked what you saw and you want to help me go from being a part-time to a full-time content creator, then I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel, check out my other videos, and leave your likes and comments down below. If you'd like to help me preserve freedom of speech on the internet, you can join Creation Social, which is my open source alt-tech alternative to Facebook and Gab. And in the future, I'll be rolling out a video sharing site of my own. So if you want to help support that and make that happen, you can also help out with that through the various payment methods that we have. You can use the payment methods to pay for Creation Social, the future video sharing site, and anything else related to TTOR. First way you can do that is become an active monthly subscriber to the TTOR Subscribe Star account. We have $1 tiers, $5 tiers, $20 tiers, $25, $50, and even $100 tiers. And if we have at least 5 active subscribers at all times, your money can actually be paid out to me so I can use it for the TTOR Creation Social projects. The other way you can donate to TTOR and Creation Social and anything related to those two things is you can go to any one of my individual Joshu TV videos, click on the Send a Tip button, and that will take you to my tip jar page where you can donate to TTOR through PayPal. You can purchase products from our Teespring store, both TTOR and Creation Social products. You can also donate to my Coffee page, and if you have Bitcoin, you can send it to my Joshu TV wallet. So those are all the different ways that you can support TTOR financially as far as crowdfunding platforms go. Another way you can support TTOR, Creation Social, and everything related to those things financially is you can go to Amazon and purchase one of my books. There's Another Inconvenient Truth, What Secular America Hates. And then there's Another Inconvenient Truth too, Defending Young Earth Creationism. Both books are available as a Kindle download and a paperback on Amazon. You can also download them as PDF files off of the TTOR Teespring store, and they're also available on the Creation Social Marketplace. Thank you for watching, and have an excellent day.